be less when pronouncing them. Many people have difficulty explaining the difference between a vowel and a consonant. So learning how each of them differs in pronunciation can be helpful. Generally, different vowel sounds are made by different mouth shapes and positions of the tongue body. Okay, so wag nating pagtatawanan yung kunyari yung iba na nahihirapan i-explain yung difference between a vowel and a consonant. Kasi I'll give you an example, no? Hindi naman natin pwedeng sabihin na vowel and consonant lang. It's super dali. Napakadali. Alright, no. Kasi ang English, complex nga siya, di ba? So for example, yung letter Y, hindi lang siya basta consonant. So minsan, ang letter Y is a vowel as well. Okay, depende sa word. Alright, save and continue. And let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, 5.2, reading out loud. Reading out loud is a great way for your students to improve their spoken fluency and to improve overall comprehension. Let's start off by looking at the benefits of reading out loud. Okay, why we read aloud? Increased retention. That is true. Anytime you access more than one sense, you are more likely to retain the information you are consuming. This is why the most memorable lessons from school were the ones where you did an activity that required you to get out of your seat and move around. Adding that extra wrinkle made it more memorable. When we read out loud, we are not only reading, but we are also listening to what we read. Okay, so yung retention, yung importante doon. Next is increased focus. When you read to yourself, it is easy for your mind to wander and get distracted by external forces. Reading out loud creates an atmosphere of reading and requires you to focus on each and every word. That does not mean your mind cannot wander, but it cuts down on your chances of being distracted. Okay, so I'll give an example. Biblical ito. Okay, sa Bible, sinabi na, hindi ko na alam sabihin sa English. Anyway, sa Tagalog na lang. Okay, sinabi na pag magme-meditate tayo ng salita ng Diyos, ng Word of God, we need to read it. Nakalagay doon, babasahin mo ito ng pabulong araw at gabi. Bakit pabulong? Bakit hindi, ka lang, parang tahimik ka lang na magbabasa. Mas maigi na basahin mo ng pabulong, di ba? Para andun talaga mismo yung focus mo. Hindi naman ibig sabihin ng aloud, kailangan malakas ka talaga magbabasa, especially if you're just reading to yourself, no? Okay. Enough na yung kagaya nito, yung for example, ako magbabasa ko, when you read to yourself, it is easy for your mind. Yung ganyang volume, hindi naman kailangang super lakas. In that way, you will be more focused dun sa binabasa mo. Next is self-correction. It is easier to hear yourself pronouncing a word wrong when you say it out loud. Kagaya ko, yan, minsan naririnig ko yung sarili ko kapag mali. Pero wala tayong magagawa, live ito. Okay, when you read a word silently, you don't need to pronounce it to identify it. Reading out loud helps you improve speaking fluency because it ensures you know how to pronounce the words you are reading or that you learn. Self-correction is also important because if you are aware you made a mistake and fix it, you are operating a high level of understanding. Okay, learn and practice intonation. Alright, yung intonation, it's very important as well. Sorry, nabulol ako. As you read out loud, you can practice intonation, stressing the right syllables and delivering the lines the way they were meant to be delivered. This is another indication of understanding the intricacies of the language, since intonation is only implied and not explicitly detailed in a piece of writing. Okay, let's save and continue. Next, Okay, next is strategies for reading out loud in the classroom. Minsan ayaw natin ito, no? Pero minsan yung mga classmates natin na bibo talaga, gustong-gusto nilang nagbabasa, kaya nga bibo sila. Alright, there are a number of ways you can have your students read aloud to practice their proficiency with the language. Okay, let me just get my eyeglasses. Alright. Okay, some of these strategies ask students to read in front of the class. Some ask the students to read in front of a partner, and others ask the student to read out loud only for him or herself. So each strategy has its merits and its drawbacks. But reading out loud in any form is going to help students improve their overall fluency. Okay, so here are the strategies. Okay, round robin reading. Okay, with this strategy, you make a game out of reading out loud, and students take turns reading a certain amount. So ito mga strategies na to, kapag group class ang i-handle nyo, pwede nyo itong gamitin as warm-up, maybe. Alright, this is a great way to get your students comfortable with reading out loud, but it can be difficult to motivate struggling students to read because of the stigma of reading in front of a group. This is also a great strategy for getting everyone involved in reading together, but it can also be a hindrance on students who are stronger readers and have to wait for struggling readers to catch up. Okay, so kagaya nga sinabi kanina, meron itong merits, meron ding drawback. Okay, popcorn reading. Each student reads a certain amount of text out loud, then yells popcorn and picks a new student to read. This can be a good way to make sure everyone reads because the students are going to be better at keeping track of who has read and who hasn't than you would be. And it frees you up to monitor and or provide individual attention to struggling students. Next is combat reading. This is similar to popcorn reading, except the goal of the students is to catch someone who is not paying attention. This can add a layer of fun to the activity. But be careful presenting reading as a punishment. That is not the best way to nurture lifelong readers. Okay, kailangan parating positive itong view ng student sa reading. Okay, so don't ever make reading a punishment for them. Alright, pick a name reading. This is the same as popcorn, except instead of giving the students the power to select the next reader, you leave it to chance by using some variation of a hat filled with everyone's name. Okay, touch and go reading. The teacher is in control and touches a student on the shoulder to read. Okay, so ang dami na nating natutunang strategies na pwede nyong gamitin sa classroom. And these are to motivate the student as well to read out loud. Okay, so save and continue. Next is choral reading. Okay, so chorus, right? The entire class along with the teacher, read out loud together. Okay, parang nagka-choir tayo. This strategy serves a number of purposes. First, it helps take the stigma away from struggling readers. Secondly, it gives the opportunity to model correct pronunciations for students that is not combative or anxiety inducing. Thirdly, all students are engaged at the same time, which is a lofty goal for any teacher. We need to make sure that they are really engaged, no? Kasi minsan yung iba nag-ano lang, lip sync. Alright, next is partner up. Have your students pair up and share the reading, taking turns reading a certain amount out loud. This is more difficult for you to manage and monitor than the whole class reading, but it can help students get a chance to read out loud in a less stressful situation. Alright, heterogeneous pairing. This is the same as the previous strategy, except that you intentionally partner struggling readers with readers who are excelling. The idea is that the excelling student can help the struggling reader bridge the gap. Critics note this strategy does not really help the strong student very much, as slowing down to adjust for their partners might work against them. Okay, teacher modeling. The teacher reads aloud to the class in order to model pronunciation and fluency. This can be an effective strategy because the students see how the piece should be read as they follow along, but make sure you monitor for engagement closely, as it is the type of lesson that is easy for the students to check out for. Okay, echoing. I like this, echoing. All right, repeat after me. This is similar to the previous strategy, except the students echo back whatever the teachers read or the teacher reads, trying to match the pronunciation, inflection, and emotion. This can be a great way to model for students while still holding them accountable in the classroom. Okay, sa mga kids or beginners, pag may ipaparepeat kayo, kailangan ulitin nyo yun na 3 times, right? So, repeat after me. Okay. Pag ganon, TPR, we need to do that. Okay? Yung, ilagay natin yung kamay natin sa lower lip. Okay? Sa baba. Excuse me. Then, sabihin natin sa student, ibig sabihin pag ginawa natin yon, that the student has to look on your mouth, no? At your mouth. At your mouth. So that means makikita niya kung paano bubuka yung bibig niyo, kung paano niyo ipopronounce yung salita. Okay, at kailangan talagang ipakita niyo yan sa student. I-exaggerate niyo na hanggat maaari. Apple, apple, ganyan. As in, kung kita niyo lang ako, ipapakita niyo talaga sa student while nakapoint yung finger niyo dun sa baba. Alright? Okay, so that is echoing. So, i-echo siya ni student, i-repeat siya ni student 3 times. Okay, unless you are reading a sentence, no? Kasi mahirap naman paulit-ulit niyang basahin yung, or sabihin yung sentence. Unless hindi niya talaga yun mabasa. Next is reading body. Students prepare individually, each with a unique text, and then read their piece to a body, trying their best to read it with no mistakes. Peers can offer critiques and suggestions, and you can monitor many students at once. Tape recorder. Students read into a tape recorder and play it back to themselves as they follow along with the text. Yeah, maganda yan. There are many things you can do with this, like have the students try to get the perfect recording and then turn it in, or have the students swap recordings with a partner. This is also a great way for your students to get an idea of what they sound like, where they are struggling, and where they are excelling. This is also a great way to help students get used to self-correcting. Okay, ito na yung, dito pumapasok yung self-correcting. Alright, save and continue. Next is responding to questions. As with a lot of topics within this course, responding to questions is not compartmentalized to speaking, meaning it is something that can help students gain fluency in a number of different ways, not just one. There are different ways we can look at this topic, and each one works on a different skill that will build your students' English fluency. Okay, first is question and response. Here are the different ways in which you can question your students and expect them to respond. First is read question and write a response. Alright, next is listen to question and write a response. Next, read question and answer verbally. Lastly, listen to a question and answer verbally. Okay, so maraming paraan para ma-practice natin, no, yung responding to questions. Alright, and lahat ng ito talagang beneficial siya dun sa student. Okay? Makikita nyo rin kung ano yung mga merits, yung mga advantages and disadvantages nitong mga strategies na ito, or nitong mga different ways na ito. Alright, for example, dito sa listen to a question and answer verbally, this is the ultimate test of a student's fluency. Alright. So, parang beauty pageant, ano? You're gonna listen to a question and then you will answer verbally. So, as in impromptu talaga. Not only do they have to comprehend the question as they hear it, something we will discuss in the next module on listening, but they have to formulate a cogent response in English. If your students are able to accomplish this task, then they are well on their way to English fluency. Alright, itong mga ways na ito, pwede nyo itong gawin sa, okay, not just prepared material, but also sa free talk. Okay, mas madalas ito, lalo na dun sa mga adult students ko noon sa free talk. Gustong-gusto nila kapag, as in, hindi prepared yung mga questions, right? Kasi pag sinend mo na sa kanila yung questions ahead of time, so hindi mapapractice yung vocabulary nila, hindi nila mai-squeeze yung vocabulary nila. Okay, save and continue. Question and answer relationship. Oy, may relasyon pala itong dalawang to. So one of the best ways you can help your students respond to questions verbally is by helping them understand how they find or how to find the answers they need. This is a great skill to have no matter what language you speak, but it's definitely something that can help a student who is struggling with new language. According to the question-answer relationship model, there are 4 levels of questions, each with different expectations for students to draw their responses. Okay, first is understanding. Alright, kailangan naintindihan nila yung question, right? Okay, so the question requires the student to look at the text for an answer. But the answer is fairly easy, and the student can focus on how he or she is going to provide an answer in English. Next, think, search, and find. These questions require a higher level of thinking because they require the student to make inferences and understand the subtext of the piece they are reading. This is a great next step for the student who is starting to get the hang of understanding questions and is easy for a greater challenge. With these types of questions, the student needs to balance the higher level comprehension skills he or she has been developing with his or her ability to verbalize a response in English. Next is connection. These types of questions require the student to think beyond what is in the text. All right, and make a connection with the piece. And creating new knowledge. All right, these types of questions require the student to go completely beyond the text and synthesize something else. These questions are related to the text but can be answered without having read it. This is a great way to get students creating new meaning and making use of everything they have learned so far. Okay, so minsan tanungin natin yung si student, no? Kung pwede ba niyang sagutin yung tanong without reading from the text. It means using his own using his own words, his own sentence. Alright? So, ganun dapat niya sagutin yung tanong. Alright, save and continue. Presenting new ideas. The ultimate showcase of a student's improvement in spoken English is to present new ideas of his or her in this new language. Alright, so remember ESL, second language niya to, or new language, right? So as the student builds toward fluency, using text and responding to teachers' questions are all great ways to develop his or her skills. But the true test comes when he or she steps away from the source material and uses what he or she has learned to present new ideas. While presenting these new ideas is ultimately up to the student, there are ways you can encourage him or her and support the student along the way toward his or her success. Okay, continue building vocabulary. There will never be a time when a student is done learning words. And the best way to help your students present their own unique ideas is by giving them the vocabulary toolbox they need to express those new ideas. Provide a low anxiety environment. Your student will be taking a risk by sharing new ideas in a language they are not completely fluent in. So take as much anxiety out of the situation as you can. Give them space to work through what they are going to say and be encouraging when they are ready to go. Okay, give them time to practice. It might be helpful to bring back the reading strategy that we discussed earlier and give them a recorder to check their own progress. So, magkakaroon na rin sila dito ng self-correction, no? Once the student has progressed and is improving, it is important to give him or her some control over the process and let the student take responsibility for his or her performance. Alright, last page na tayo. Susunod, save and continue. Next is provide honest and encouraging feedback. Napaka-importante nito. Honesty is the best policy, right? Kasi pag honest, the more, as long as, well, okay, I'm sorry. Mientras na honest tayo dun sa estudyante natin, mas ma-appreciate nila yon. Pero, syempre, being a teacher, kailangan, although, sabihin natin sa estudyante kung ano yung mga room for improvement and so on, kailangan sabihin natin yun in a nice way, no? We will always we will always turn negative into something positive. Okay, even outside of Tesol, simply saying good job is no longer enough to encourage a student. Be specific, be honest, and be encouraging. Okay, if the student is struggling with something, let him or her know, but also let him or her know how it can be fixed and what needs to be done to get better. Students appreciate honesty as long as it is presented to them in such a way that does not immediately make them shut down and not want to try. Okay, kagaya nga na sinabi ko kanina, lalo na sa mga beginners, sa mga bata, okay, ipapaulit natin yung salita 3 times, right? Pag hindi niya nagawa yun, or pag hindi niya makopya, sabihin mo na lang, thank you for trying. Yung mga tipong ganon, kailangan i-appreciate mo pa rin yung, yung ginawa niya, di ba? You're doing a good job trying to pronounce the word. Alright, maybe we can practice more about it later on, right? Yung mga tipong ganon, hindi yung ipapaulit-ulit mo sa kanya kasi si student mapo-frustrate. Kaya up to 3 times mo lang talaga pwede ipaulit at a time, no? Kunyari ngayon sinabi mo apple, ang sasabihin niya apple, apple, apple. Hindi mo na ipapaulit sa kanya uli yung apple, yung salitang apple. Okay? So, hintay ka na lang uli maya-maya. Alright? Siguro, pag nakita mo na uli sa slide na iyon uli yung apple. Okay, Sam, can you say apple? Papaulit mo na lang uli sa kanya yon hanggang sa matutunan niya. And each time na ipopronounce sa student yon, okay, be honest kung mali man yung pronunciation niya. Sabi mo, way to go. Basta yung mga tipong ganon. Okay? Alright. So, you're doing great. Okay? We will try again later. Right? Basta, bahala kayo kung paano nyo i-express yung honesty nyo in a nice way. Okay. Next is listen to the student. the worst thing you can do after your student has done all that work is to not listen when they present their ideas. Of course, you would never visibly ignore students as they present, but it can be easy to lose focus on what the students are exactly saying. When the presentation is over, be specific with what you liked about the student's idea. Show the student you care and are proud of him and her. Even if the student struggled, getting up and taking the risk was a big leap. So leave the critic until some time has passed. Okay, parate kailangan may tawag dito, encouraging yung feedback natin sa student. Kasi kumbaga parang A for effort, no? Nag-exert ng effort si student. Talagang hardworking si student para magawa yon, although nag-struggle siya, right? So we're done with speaking. Let's save and continue, and we are going to proceed right away with our exam. Are you ready? Okay, are you ready for the exam? Ito na yung question number 1. Why are phonetic symbols important? Okay, and there's only one answer. Letter C, they can help your student visualize English sounds. Okay, that's why it's very important to learn the International Phonetic Alphabet. Alright, save and continue. Ako lang pala yung nakakakita ng check result kasi tapos na ako. Okay, so kayo ang makikita nyo lang is save and continue. Question number 2. Which of the following body parts contribute to the creation of sound? Okay, the answers are letters A, B, and D. Tongue, lips, and heart palate. Okay, save and continue. Number 3. How do vowel sounds differ from consonant sounds? It's letter A. Vowel sounds involve less obstruction of air. Okay, simple as that. Letter A. All right, save and continue. Number 4. Which of the following are reasons why your students should practice reading out loud? Okay, the answers are letters A, C, and D. Improved self-correction, sharper focus, and practice with intonation. Okay. Ito yung mga talagang diniscuss natin kanina, ano? Kaya minsan kailangan gamitin nila yung strategy na mag-record ng salita nila using tape recorder. Yeah, so they can improve self-correction as well. Alright, save and continue. Number 5, what is a downside of round-robin reading? Okay, letter B. Some students find it embarrassing and get anxious. Yes, that is correct naman. Okay, save and continue. Number 6. Confirm if the following statements are true or false. Okay, letter A. Students do not get anything out of hearing the teacher read the text. That is false. Okay, remember, we are the model. We are the role model of the students. Role model. So, when we read to our students, malalaman nila kung paano talaga basahin yung salita. So, definitely, they will get something out of it. Alright. Next is letter B. When students are connecting to the text, they are using higher level thinking than when they answer questions about the text. That is true. Okay. So, we are done with number 6. Save and continue. Last question for module 5. How should you provide feedback to your students when they are presenting new ideas in English? Okay, letters A, B, and D. Okay, we need to be honest. Remember, honesty is the best policy. Be specific and tell them what they can improve. Okay, mas ma-appreciate ni student pag kino-correct natin sila. And gano'n naman dapat talaga, di ba? That's why we are their teachers. Para i-correct sila, hindi para sabihin lang na, good job, kahit mali naman, right? Remember that we need to correct our students, but of course in a nice way. Save and continue, and we are done with Module 5. Next is Module 6. Okay, let's continue with Module with our Tesol course, and now we are on Module 6, which is about listening. Listening is an important part of learning a language because the majority of your students want to communicate verbally. Helping your student to speak English is great, but will not help him or her in a conversation unless he or she can understand others. Throughout your class, you will be easing your students into the language by speaking slowly and giving them the chance to decode what you are saying. Once they go out into the world, they will have to comprehend what people are saying no matter how quickly they speak. In this module, we will discuss many of the strategies your students will need to become conversationally fluent in English, including how to decode sounds, how to break down speech, and how to summarize ideas others are presenting to them. Okay, Module 6 has 4 parts. Number 1, repeating what you hear or transcribing. Number 2, paraphrase what you hear. Number 3, conversational English. And number 4, using what you hear to present new ideas. Save and continue. Okay, first part is about repeating what you hear or transcribing. Alright, asking your students to transcribe speech is a great way to get them understanding what people are saying. It is also a way for you to monitor how much the students actually understand speech as opposed to how much the students tell you they understand. It is one thing to get a general idea of what someone is saying. It is another thing entirely to transcribe the speech word for word. In this section, we will focus on 2 different types of transcription, both of which will help your students better understand the language. Okay, first is phonetic transcription. Okay, so these are the 2 different types of transcription. The phonetic transcription. It is a technique whereby an individual breaks speech down into sounds and phonemes and transcribes the speech in phonetic symbols. Using the symbols we discussed in the previous module, we will not repeat the symbols again. So feel free to go back and review them. Okay, and kagaya nga na sinabi ko kanina, yung mga symbols na yon, pwede nyo ring i-google lang, right? Okay, type nyo lang International Phonetic Alphabet, and each time, for example, merong mga words, like for example, type nyo lang yung word na church sa dictionary. Then, makikita nyo na automatic lalabas doon yung International Phonetic Alphabet or yung symbol, right? Kung ano ba yung symbol ng word na yon. Okay. Alright, so instead, we are going to focus on what phonetic transcription looks like and how it will benefit your students. Okay. Actually, na-amaze talaga ako sa mga Chinese students ko kasi alam nilang basahin yung phonetic symbols, right? So, minsan symbols lang, alam na nilang basahin. Kaya, wow, parang, amazing. Alright, what does phonetic transcription look like? Phonetic transcription can be a great way to decode sounds from speech, but is not a practical activity for them to carry on once they have reached a mastery of the language. It is extremely helpful, but can be time-consuming. Take a look at the following excerpt. and what it would look like in phonetic transcription. Okay, so makikita nyo itong original text versus transcribed text. Wow, ang hirap ng transcribed text. Alright, original text, sometimes, no, so makita nyo yung different, no? Sometimes, sometimes. Okay. Phonetic transcription can be complicated. Okay, so makita nyo yung spelling dito, no? Sometimes. And since letter I in this word, this letter I is ito yung pronunciation niya dito, I, right? Ito yung symbol niya, yung parang kagaya sa diphthong, I, right? Sometimes. Phonetic transcription can be complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it is actually quite easy. It will also help students get the hang of recognizing sounds, which will make conversational English much easier. Okay, shall we give it a try? Alright, to read the transcribed text. Okay, basahin natin yung transcribed text lang mismo. Sometimes, okay, yun na nga. So, makita nyo, F instead of PH, no? Kasi ito yung symbol niya. Ibig sabihin, this has to sound like F. Okay, phonetic. Okay, O. Ito yung salitang ito. Phonetic transcription can. Okay, we don't say can. Can be complicated. We don't say it like that. We say can. Can. Can be. Alright, so letter E, but it is E. Alright, like a short E. Can be complicated. Okay, complicated. E. But, alright, but. It's not ba, at. It's not ba. Alright, or it's not for but, right? It's but, alright. Once you get the hang of it, alright, not hang of it, hang of it. It is actually quite easy, alright, not easy. It will also help students. Okay, we don't say it's students. We say students. Alright, kaya malalaman natin yung correct pronunciation by using this transcription or the transcribed text or the phonetic symbols, right? Students. Alright, get the hang of, alright, so get the hang of recognizing sounds. Which, remember this symbol, it's for ch sound, which will make conversational. Okay, so here we don't see the letter R, so it means ano siya, silent. Conversational. Alright, conversational English, E. English. This is the sound or the symbol for sh. Alright, English. Much easier. Oh, easier. Alright, parang British accent, no? We don't really hear. This is British accent actually, or British English. Easier. Kasi hindi natin marinig yung R. But if it's American English, masyado silang focus naman dun sa R. Okay, easier. Mga ganyan talaga, bar. Maririnig nyo talaga yung mga R sounds kapag American English. Okay, save and continue. Alright, next is phonetic transcription. Now you have seen what phonetic transcription can look like. Let's take a look at the different types of phonetic transcription that exists, some of which will be helpful to your students and some will not. Okay, for the systematic versus impressionistic transcription. If you as an expert in phonetic symbols were to listen to speech in another language, you would generally be able to chart if it's based on English phonetic symbols. Obviously, this is not the best way to handle since phonetic symbols are going to be different in every language. But you are going to use the language you have. Now, a phonetics expert would instead use a more universal group of phonetic symbols to transcribe the speech. This is called impressionistic transcription because although this is still not perfect, the transcriber is charting sounds as best as he or she can without knowing the language. Later, experts can take this impressionistic transcription and revise and modify it to more accurately represent the speech. To more accurately represent the speech. It would be more difficult if the speech was charted using more specific English phonetic symbols. Once experts are able to analyze the speech and get a sense of for the sounds of the particular language they are listening to, they are able to revise the transcription into a much more accurate transcription. This is called a systematic transcription, or a transcription that more accurately reflects the phonetic structure of the language it is breaking down. As you may have already figured out, a systematic transcription is more helpful for your students. Although it could be helpful to have your students use their native language to analyze the sounds in an English recording, however, you are typically going to ask them to create phonetic transcriptions that more accurately reflect the phonetic structures of the English language to ensure they are learning. Oh, ang haba. Okay, self-explanatory, save and continue. Continuation of phonetic transcription. Next is simple versus comparative transcription. Okay, when we say comparative or simple transcription, it is something that, okay, that can be left up to interpretation. All right, that's why it's called simple, which makes the phonetic translation as easy to read as possible without worrying too much about everything being perfect. Okay, what about the comparative transcription? It is relevant when the sounds for different languages match up, and you are able to use a more vague phoneme to refer to the different versions of the phoneme in different languages. This type of transcription is not very helpful to your students. Okay, what about the phonemic versus allophonic transcription? What is phonemic transcription? We have been hearing about phonemic, no? Phonetics, phonemic, and there are different types of it. Now we are going to use it with transcription. Everything we have been discussing so far in this section has referred to phonemic transcription, which refers to any transcription where you break sounds into phonemes. The other option you have with transcription is to do an allophonic transcription, which means breaking the speech down into allophones. If you remember from previous modules, allophones are a phonic rather than phonemic way of breaking down words. Save and continue. Next is word-for-word transcription. Okay, so here are the steps that your students have to take in order to transcribe speech. Okay, so actually hindi naman natin ginagawa yun, pero mostly kasi sa ESL, no, mga bata yung tinuturuan talaga or beginners, mga ganyan, up to level 2, level 3, level 3. Pero kapag may adult students kayo, importante din na malaman nyo ito. Okay, so let's go through the steps. Select or provide the text that already has a transcription. Okay, number 2, have the students listen to the speech once. Okay, just once. Then ipa-repeat nyo sa kanila. Have your students transcribe the speech line by line. Okay, it would be helpful if they have a recording of the speech so they are able to go back and re-listen when they need to. Okay, now here are some tips that might help your students. First bullet, if you have the opportunity, use a digital recording so it is easier for students to go back and forth and keep track of their progress. Okay, Number 2, or second bullet, have the students write their transcriptions by hand to have a closer connection to the words they are writing. Allow the students to use a dictionary whenever they need. Do not limit the amount of times your students can rewind or listen to parts of the recording. Okay, because even native English speakers would have trouble transcribing a piece word for word without listening more than once. Native speakers na, no? Pero you can still have trouble transcribing. Okay, hindi siya yung isang beses lang. Encourage your students to transcribe the piece word for word. Then look through their transcription to fix errors in grammar and usage. Okay, save and continue. Next is word-for-word transcription. Have your students carefully check their answers. As we said before, they may be at the point when or where you can assess them instead against the correct transcription. Have your students look at where they struggled and where they excelled, and figure out their strengths and weaknesses so they can use the activity as a learning experience. Transcriptions are not something you can do every day since they are pretty exhaustive, but you should try to do them every so often until your students have demonstrated proficiency. Make sure also that you are using it as a learning experience and have your students continually reflect on their performance to make sure it is worthwhile. How is transcribing text helpful? As we have already discussed, transcribing text can be extremely helpful to your students for the following reasons. Okay, so first, it helps students on mastering the sounds of English. Next, it gives students practice writing the language. Because this activity is meticulous, it forces students to delve into the text and pay attention to every detail, rather than just summarize what is being said. This directly prepares students for conversational English, although it takes out the part where they respond. This is the first step toward being able to have a cogent conversation in English. And lastly, this is a great way to give students the opportunity to work independently. All right, so save and continue. All right, page 7, it's about paraphrasing. So this is the second part of this module. 6.2, paraphrase what you hear. People tend to think that paraphrasing someone is easier than quoting directly, but that isn't true. To effectively paraphrase, you need to understand what the person said to put their words into your own words. That is why this is a great skill for your students to practice. It will test their ability to listen, process the words, then rewrite them into their own. In many ways, this task is more difficult than transcription. Since paraphrasing is a difficult skill for students to master, let's take a closer look at how you can help them. Okay, so the next part, teaching students to paraphrase. All right, so we'll see different ways you can teach your students to paraphrase more effectively. And it is more important skill to practice with them. Okay, it is an important skill to practice with them. First is start out slow and normally. Have your students pair up. Okay. Next is do it with them. Next, as you are modeling the process with the students, help them understand how to paraphrase better by introducing 4 strategies they can use. What are those 4 strategies? First, reword. Okay, reword. The student places words with synonyms whenever he or she can. So, pumapasok din dito yung vocabulary, no? Kung rich na yung vocabulary ni student. Kaya makakapag-provide na siya ng synonym ng mga words. Next is rearrange. The student rearranges a sentence so that it sounds different but conveys the same message. You will have to model this for the students directly. Mahilig akong mag-paraphrase. So, for example, sinabi ko na, okay, so today we are going to do modules 5 and 6. Tapos, uulitin ko uli yung sinabi ko. Sasabihin ko naman na module 5 and 6 naman yung i-discuss natin today. Alright? So, as you can see, nare-rearrange lang yung salita. Okay? So, I am paraphrasing myself. Medyo redundant. Anyway, okay, accept. Okay. Let the students know they will not be able to change every word, nor should they. So they need to learn to make decisions on what needs to be changed and what should stay the same. Okay. And recheck. Have the students read over the paraphrased version they have written and evaluate it based on how accurate it is to the original message. If you have the students working together, have the student who delivered the speech check the student who paraphrased for accuracy. You can also use this as an assessment tool and evaluate it yourself. Save and continue. Excuse me. Okay, next is teaching students to paraphrase. Now that students are getting more comfortable with paraphrasing, nagbe-burp ako eh. Give them text to work with. You can still have them in pairs, but this time, have one student read the text to the other. Once again, also practicing reading and speaking skills. And have the other student paraphrase. Keep the texts simple enough so the focus of the activity is on paraphrasing skills. Okay. Number 2, as the students get the hang of paraphrasing, ask them to do it in front of the class. Bring a pair to the class or to the front to showcase the activity the class has been working on. Let the students in the audience critique the performances. And remember, this step will only work once the students are comfortable with the process. Okay, so we need to remember it para hindi rin sila ma-frustrate kapag minadali natin sila, right? We need to make sure na comfortable na sila to do that. Okay, comfortable and confident. Next, if you really want to extend the assignment and challenge your students, take the next step by giving them complex texts. Even once they start to master the language, this is a good skill to practice. All right. Paraphrasing is a great skill to practice even if there's no listening component. Students can also learn by reading a text silently and paraphrasing it. Remember, anything that helps students gain fluency in the English language is worth doing. All right, let's save and continue. Now, how paraphrasing helps students. We already have hinted at the ways paraphrasing can help your students master the English language, but we should take some time to explicitly review the benefits of this activity. Okay, so ito na yung mga nakabullets dito, right? First, when you use oral text for this activity, it helps your students improve their ability to listen and comprehend English. Okay, yung comprehension. This activity also works on other skills, even if they are not the focus. When you have your students read the text to each other, you also practice all the skills involved in reading out loud, including decoding, pronunciation, and reading comprehension. Learning how to paraphrase will help your students when they begin developing their conversational skills. As they get more comfortable with the language, they will need to take in what people are saying, process it, and respond appropriately. While this activity does not require the students to respond appropriately, it definitely helps the students with the rest of the parts of conversation. Okay, next, if you choose to have your students paraphrase with written text, it does not help them practice their listening skills, but it helps improve their reading skills. Okay, so it's not only practicing, all right, listening skills, although it says here that it does not help them practice. All right, although syempre hindi talaga mapapractice kasi it's only written. Alright, unless they read it aloud after reading it. Oh, uh, unless they read it out loud or aloud. Okay, oh, nawala ako doon. Next, paraphrasing text helps students make connections with their own knowledge. This happens in a few different ways. Number one, the student makes connections to their native language or cognates that help them understand and relay information that is given to them. Relay information. Next, the student connects to what is being said on a personal level and is able to paraphrase the speech because they feel personally invested in it. Next, the activity takes on a much more interesting and less monotonous feel because you are no longer asking the students to simply echo back what they have heard. You are asking them to comprehend and create something of their own with it. Okay, monotonous nga naman kapag nag-echo lang sila dun sa sinabi mo, ano? Or, yeah, they're just repeating what you read or what you said. So, magiging monotonous siya. Okay, save and continue. Third part in this module is Conversational English. Or the third part of this module is Conversational English. The next step from having your students listen to someone speak and paraphrase their words is to have students respond to the speech with an appropriate reaction. Whereas paraphrasing required students to take someone else's speech and put it into their own words. Conversational English requires students to comprehend what someone says quickly, figure out how to respond, then figure out how to respond in English. Okay, the immediacy of a conversation makes this one of the true tests of your students' fluency and what they have learned thus far. In order to ensure your students are prepared for conversational English, make sure they understand each of the following concepts. Some we have already discussed. Okay, first is verb conjugation. Next is using pronouns properly. All right, pronoun use is important in conversational English. All right, dito madalas na makakarinig tayo na mali talaga yung usage ng pronoun. Okay, so for example, my mother, she went to the store earlier. All right, so maraming gumagamit ng ganon. Okay, so pinagsasama yung noun and pronoun sa isang sentence, ano, so mali yun. It's either sabihin mo na my mother went to the store earlier, or kung alam na ng kausap mo that you are pertaining or you are talking about your mother, you don't have to say my mother. You can just simply say, oh, she went to the store earlier. Mga tipong ganon. Next, how conversational English varies from formal English. Your students may be fluent in formal English, but if you haven't discussed words like gonna with them, they might find themselves confused in a conversation. I have that student. She always use this. I wanna, I'm gonna. All right? Kasi she finds it cool. All right. Okay, so alam natin slang yun, no? Few people speak with perfect English or even scrutinize spoken English the same way they scrutinize written English. While you don't need to teach your students all the slang they might hear, it would be helpful to give them information on slang words that have been generally accepted into the English vocabulary. Okay, next is understanding English idioms. While these cultural sayings will not pop up in every conversation, you should try to give them some instruction in some of the idioms that are most commonly used. Since idioms are cultural, we will leave it to you to decide which are the most relevant in your region or country. Mhm. We are talking about idioms, right? Na-discuss na rin natin kanina yung merong metaphor, irony, etc. And lastly, how English differs from their language. Okay, this will require individualized instruction, but will be worth it. Try to provide extra practice and instruction to help them understand some of the specific differences in grammar and structure between English and their native language. Students who speak Spanish, for example, will have to get used to the fact that the adjective typically comes before the noun in English. Baligtad kasi sa kanila, right? It's the opposite way. With specialized instructions in these nuances, you can help your students be prepared for the things that are more likely or most likely to trip them up during the conversation. Save and continue. All right. So last page na tayo ng Module 6, which is about the last part as well, using what you hear to present new ideas. The next step is to take with your students The next step to take with your students is to help them learn and or practice how to take what they are hearing and use it to present new ideas. While conversational English is great because it requires your students to reply to speakers with appropriate and cogent responses, it is time for them to present ideas of their own. In this section, we will discuss when this will come in handy as well as helping your students practice these skills. So there are 4 bullets. Okay, right? In a school or business setting, it will be helpful for students to synthesize what they hear in English and generate new knowledge from it. Next, the skill will improve their conversational skill or English. Keeping this skill in mind, students will be able to carry a conversation that is give and take, rather than simply answer and respond. You can help your students practice by extending your lessons in conversational English to account for this need. If a student is creating something completely new, like an invention or an innovation or an idea, then it would be very difficult for them to express their ideas. If they only have the ability to respond to questions in English, students need the tools to speak about getting they have not heard anyone say. This takes a great understanding of the basic framework of the language, which you have hopefully provided for them. Students need to be prepared to speak off the cuff without a language safety net. All right. So to truly demonstrate fluency and mastery of the English language, they need to improvise with the language and understand it in the same way they understand their native language. With the right amount of commitment from both you and your students, you will get them to this point. It will take patience, preparation, and follow through. Yes, so we're done with Module 6. We are now going to answer our exams. Okay, are you ready? What is phonetic transcription? It's letter B, transcribing speech using phonemes. Okay, obviously nakita na natin yung sagot dun sa tanong, phonetic. So, phonemes. Okay? Save and continue. Question number 2, which of the following are phonetic transcriptions? Letter A, allophonic transcription and comparative transcription. Okay, save and continue. Number 3, why should you use a text that is already transcribed in your transcription exercises? Okay, letter A, so that there is an answer key for comparison. Makes sense, right? Para mas madali nating maituturo din kay student. Alright, so there will be no room for mistake, especially when we are teaching them how to transcribe. Save and continue. Which of the following is an effective classroom transcription activity? Okay, there's only one answer here, which is letter D. Students transcribe alone. Okay, it's really proven effective. Save and continue. Question number 5. How does conversational English differ from formal English? Okay. Letter C. There is more use of slang and improper language. Okay. So, pag conversational English ang gagamitin natin or, ang binook ni student sa'yo, you can allow your student to use like gonna, wanna, I'm trying to, alright, something like that. Kasi mga islang yon, and they really want to sound like native, like for example, they want to sound like American or British. So let them be. However, it is really important that we tell them, alright, kung paano yon sa formal English. Okay, that it's really different. Conversational English is really different from formal English. Instead of saying gonna, I'm gonna go there. Okay, sabihin mo, I'm going to. Okay, iyon yung formal English. Nung slang na gonna. Alright, I wanna, want to. Alright, it is very important that the students know the differences. Okay, save and continue. Question number 6. Confirm if the following statements are true or false. Letter A. Students need to understand all English idioms to understand conversational English. That is false. Okay, kasi yung idioms nga, yung mga idiomatic expression, depende yun, conforme sa region mo. Okay, next is verb conjugation is an important part of conversational English. That is true. Okay, save and continue. All right, so number 7, which of the following are steps in the paraphrasing process? Okay, so alin ang naiba? Letter A is mali. Okay, ito ay opposite nitong tatlong other choices dito. Therefore, the answers are B, C, and D. Reword, recheck, rearrange. Okay, so thank you for staying with me sa ating next tutorial. Next sa ating Tesol tutorial for modules 5 and 6, and see you tomorrow for modules 7 and 8. Okay, basahin nyo na po ahead of time para mabilisan na lang yung gawin natin, kagaya nung ginawa natin ngayon. Okay, hindi kasi pwede na sagot lang talaga yung ibibigay ko. Cheating po iyon. Maigi na mag-go through tayo sa each slide. Okay, so thanks again, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and God bless your application. Bye!